I was still holding the small bouquet my granddaughter asked me to carry when a bridesmaid with glossy hair and hurried eyes said a sentence so soft it felt rehearsed. "There isn't a seat for you near the head table. Come this way, please." My name had been printed on the program. I had wired funds for the quartet, and my son had kissed my cheek an hour earlier, whispering, "Mom, you're up front. Row 2." The ballroom doors sighed open, peonies under glass, escort cards like snow, and the family A table glowing by the dance floor. Somehow, my card was missing. I stared at the master list a server had left near the check-in my name. Eleanor Pierce. E5. Family A, as the bridesmaid pressed a smile and angled her body to block it. If you were me, would you stay quiet to protect the night or step forward and ask for my seat by name? Tell me what you'd do right now in one clear line below, and if you care about stories where paper refuses to lie. Subscribe so you won't miss what happens in the next minute. The quartet slid into revel, and a waiter leaned in. Breath of mint and panic. "Ma'am, someone asked us to move your chair to the vendor table." I followed the bridesmaid toward a corner where a service door sighed each time staff passed with trays. And I thought of every compromise a woman makes in the name of family forgiving late arrivals, laughing at thin jokes, writing checks that keep the peace, and swallowing questions because the bride's mascara cannot run. My daughter-in-law, Avery, had curated the night like a brand launch neutral florals, uncluttered speeches, and a small ask that I not wear the sapphire my husband gave me in 1974 because bold stones distract on camera. Peace sometimes looks like letting small things go until they line up like dominoes near the cake. Have you ever kept quiet just to keep a family gathering intact? Even when the quiet stung, leave one honest sentence in the comments so other grandmothers can see they are not alone. The bridesmaid lifted a velvet rope and gestured to a high top near the AV cart. On its base, a taped label read, "Vendor meal, no wine." And that was when I noticed a thin paper wedged beneath the clipboard at check-in, a crisp guest list printout with my name, font as calm as a courtroom. Avery materialized the way executives do, smile preloaded, hands mid-applause, and said, "Eleanor, the room is at capacity, and we're prioritizing mobility flow near the dance floor. This spot is more comfortable." My granddaughter, Lucy, was still twirling in photos with her veil. The room's joy should have washed me clean. Yet the bridesmaid's forearm grazed the list, inching it farther under the clipboard like a magician palming a coin. What would your one-sentence comeback be if a relative turned a celebration into a careful exclusion? Write the exact words you'd choose and why my ears are open. Capacity is a serious matter. Avery continued lightly, and the planner made last-minute changes. My mouth stayed gentle, my voice stayed level. And I asked to see last-minute changes in writing so I could brag about how detailed they were in my thank you note. The bridesmaid glanced right. A waiter slid an envelope toward me as if it were a check, not a lifeline. Inside the envelope lay the venue's banquet event order packet, BEO 1147, initialed by the catering manager and stamped Final Seating Rev 6 with a neat grid table family. Seat E5 Pierce. Eleanor Ada aisle clearance. The line felt like a seatbelt clicking. The exact care I'd paid for when I covered the deposit and asked for an easy path for my knees. The planner's note on the margin, confirm with MOB by 4 p.m, tugged like thread begging to be pulled. Is this already a kind of financial or emotional misuse, taking funds and then shifting the benefit away, yes or no? And why? I want to hear your reasoning, not just your reaction. The string quartet swelled, and I scanned the footer editor name, time stamp, and a signature block that waited for a hand like mine. A name appeared twice in places it shouldn't. Approved Avery Lang Mob on the summary page. Then again, in a tiny changes requested log I doubt anyone expected a grandmother to read. Avery peered at the page and laughed the way polished people laugh when they want the room to relax. That's an older version, the planner updated for fire lanes. She stroked my forearm as if we were fragile friends and said the phrase that always signals a rewrite of reality. No one is excluding you. Eleanor. Do you buy an explanation that contradicts what you can see? Yes or no? And give me one sentence why. Because someone reading the comments tonight needs your backbone. I kept my tone even and asked for Rev 7, the version that would show the fire lanes. The bridesmaid's phone buzzed. A waiter whispered to the banquet captain. The captain's eyes flicked to the BEO footer and hardened. When the captain returned with a binder, a printed auto email rode on top like a spooked bird, seating Rev 7 PDF uploaded 4:12 p.m. by Avery L. The string quartet paused between songs, and in the silence I heard the folder's spine crack as if the night itself had shifted. The captain, whose name tag read Marcus, held the auto email as if it were a sacrament, a timestamp, an uploader, and a subject line mob approval Rev 7 with a note, remove E5 by dance floor. Reassign Pierce. Eleanor to vendor 2 for traffic clarity. I have never signed my name to anything that treated me as traffic. If you were my counsel for 60 seconds, what is the very first question you would ask me to ask them? Write it below, so the next woman who reads this can borrow your strength. Marcus turned the page and pointed at the metadata bar, the hotel's system prints for internal files, editor a Lang, and the bridesmaid. Poor creature, said, that's the planner's assistant, while her thumb glided over her phone like she was polishing a lie. A familiar signature bled through the paper where I never signed Avery's initials beside a sentence that began, to preserve aesthetic flow. There is a special quiet women find when the facts have chosen them. It fills your ribs and straightens your shoulders without a single raised syllable. I asked Marcus for 5 minutes, the bridesmaid for a glass of water, and the room for nothing. Music resumed. Lucy's laughter Roman candled near the floral wall, and I sat at the vendor table like a spy in my own story, composing the speech I hoped I would never have to give. Have you ever chosen stillness because you knew motion would cost more than it paid? Tell me what you did next and how it felt in your bones. I texted my son one sentence. All okay. Please keep enjoying. Then asked Marcus to set a short meeting where there would be a camera, a simple staff corridor with a ceiling dome, and, if I remembered hotel design, a small security bubble. He nodded once and said, let me bring one more person who needs to hear this. Avery's thoughts, as she would later reveal while pressing napkin corners flat, lived in tight grids. Weddings are product launches. Family is brand equity, and unpredictability is a reputational risk. She swears she only wanted Lucy's night to feel modern, uncluttered by old grievances. She meant my refusal to co-sign a condo loan years ago, and she tells herself she moved me to vendor 2 because cameras capture less clutter there. Can motive ever excuse method? In one sentence, tell me where you draw the line between protecting the day and controlling people. In her mind, the bridesmaid was a clean instrument, Marcus, a fixable obstacle, and I, a variable that might tilt attention. Avery rehearsed a speech about capacity and fire lanes as she walked toward the staff corridor, confident the paper could be reinterpreted. She did not see the shadow standing just behind the door, who had heard her earlier rehearsals. The florist's assistant, a young woman with green ribbon on her wrist and a habit of documenting setups for the studio's Instagram, had been coiling tape near the escort card table when the lose her card exchange happened, behind her earbuds. She had captured enough of the bridesmaid's whisper on a short video that still lived in her camera roll. Would you speak up if you saw something like this, knowing you might offend a client's mother? Why or why not? Your answer might be the exact courage someone needs. In the staff corridor, under that glassy half-dome, she pressed play, the bridesmaid's voice, Avery's lower edge, the phrase, vendor 2, she'll understand, and a glimpse of my card being slid into a pocket. The corridor's security camera blinked its little red dot, indifferent and observant, while the assistant's eyes found mine and then Marcus's. And for the first time all night, nobody needed a string quartet to make the room hush. Plans don't need drama. They need clarity. Step 1. Marcus restores the documented seating assignment, E5 Family A, per BEO Rev 6. Step 2. Bridesmaid returns my card to the escort table. New vendor 2 card is destroyed. Step 3. Avery joins a brief. Private acknowledgement in the staff corridor that vendor 2 was not a planner's safety call, but her choice. Step 4. I give a 30-second toast after cake cutting, not before thanking vendors by name and honouring Lucy and Ben, with one gentle line about every seat telling a story. If you would add or remove one step from that plan, put your single edit in the comments. Precision helps more than passion right now. Step 5. Marcus documents the change via his system note. Nothing vindictive, nothing viral, just truth in the file. As I handed the plan to Marcus, he looked past me at the printed reading list for speeches and paled a forbidden name. Someone who wasn't supposed to speak had been handwritten onto the MC's card. The MC announced toasts in order, and when the unscheduled name Avery took the mic early, I felt the future trying to happen before the present finished breathing. She opened with charm, pivoted to gratitude for those who made tonight possible. And my granddaughter's brows knit the way they did when she was 5 and caught someone rewriting a story she lived through. What does a fair consequence look like when a line is crossed with silk gloves? Tell me how you'd keep a family intact while naming what was done. I raised my hand from seat E5 Family A, where the linen napkin now lay like a small flag, and asked for 30 seconds after cake. I did not name the email, the video, the card. I only thanked the hotel for honouring the paperwork my cheque had printed, and told Lucy that marriage is where truth and tenderness hold hands in public. Then I set a final photo on the table, my husband at our wedding, holding the very sapphire Avery had called too loud, and the room drew its breath as one chord. After cake, I spoke softly and briefly, the way women who have survived long families learn to. I thanked vendors, named Marcus and the florist's assistant without explaining why, and said this: every seat is a promise. And tonight, we kept one. My boundary with Avery will be this: no private meetings where paper is replaced by tone. All decisions that touch my presence or my gifts will live in writing where everyone can see. Choose one path in your own words. Would you reconcile with slow conditions or set firm distance, and why? I'm asking because women reading the comments may borrow your sentences tomorrow. A week later, a no-sender note arrived in my mailbox. We need to talk before Lucy sees the files. I placed it beneath the BEO packet and exhaled. Because paper, unlike memory, doesn't try to be liked. Next episode's case, a rehearsal dinner place card that unlocks a whole trust clause I didn't even know existed.